Hello guys, how are we doing? And welcome back to Help with Harrz, where I review subscribers' gameplays to make them, try and make them better at Black Ops 6 ranked play. Today we are reviewing Crime Watch, who is not only a subscriber but a tier 1 channel member. The gameplay in question is a Skyline Hardpoint. They go 40 to 26 with a decent amount of objective score as well, so they seem to be doing it all, but something's missing. They somehow haven't managed to get the win at this time, and we're going to be focusing on solo queue positioning, solo queue timings, and bits and bobs surrounding that, plus anything else we notice along the way. We're going to be reviewing their submission form to check through their settings and other things they might want me to focus on. We're going to then review the gameplay in its entirety, and then finish off with a little bit of a roundup with maybe 2 or 3 tips that this player themselves can take away and really put all of their focus into to hopefully get to Crimson. Obviously, Season 2 is pretty much finished now, so it probably won't be for Season 2, but hopefully it's going to be able to get them to that extra step in Season 3. Before we get into the gameplay, I just wanted to shout out my 2 new channel members that have recently joined, in Sahib and Fallen. Fallen's actually the alter ego for Crime Watch, so shout out to you guys for becoming channel members. And obviously I want to shout out anyone who has been around the channel. We're nearly at 20k subs. We're very much there. So if you're not subscribed and you're enjoying the content, make sure you click that subscribe button to make sure we can get to that 20k mark. And obviously if you're already subscribed and you just sit in comments, you like the videos, or you just sit and you just don't really do much and you just enjoy watching the videos, appreciate every single one of you as always. Enough of the soppy stuff. Shall we get into the gameplay? Actually, form first. So Fallen or Crime Watch, they play on a new generation console. I think calling them new gen is just going to be standard now. I think it's just going to be console. They play on a Diamond 1 account. I think at the time of recording, they're Diamond 2. The highest rank last year was Platinum 1, so they've done a really good job already in that year's progress. FOV of 105 with a good sensitivity. They play on a controller. As I mentioned, they are a channel member. So settings and setup wise, they seem to be a good place. They've also got the PS5 Edge, which I've heard is a really good controller. And yeah, the one thing they want me to focus on in their gameplay is positioning and timings in general. They then go on to say that when they solo queue a lot, it sometimes feels as that when I'm rotating, playing for spawns, etc., I end up being too out of the play. Just me more impactful in general, I'd say, considering I want to climb the ranks into Crimson. Now, let's have a look at the gameplay. Obviously, Crimson is going to be the goal. With Diamond, Crimson's just the next logical step. And because you're in Diamond and you're so close to getting to that Crimson mark, I'm going to be brutally honest and going to say exactly what I would do differently as I'm playing through this gameplay, or at least when I'm watching this gameplay. So we're going to kick it off. I'm not going to drag out the video too long. I usually focus on things in a little bit more detail at the beginning as we notice them, but then I'm not going to go and repeat myself. So let's see where we're at. What have we got from here? Let's start right from the beginning so we can see the route.
Shoot to kill. We're not here to negotiate.
Okay, the first thing I would say is when you are on this side of the map, I'm going to just pull up this TAC map here. The lines of sights you have to offer surrounding P1 from this area are that way, and that way. Okay, maybe underneath. Now, the routes you're trying to cut off from the enemy to get to P1 are either through bedroom, through kitchen, sometimes they go this way through kitchen, or the top. Okay, so there's like 4 main routes they're going to go. They're either going to go straight through middle, straight into P1, over the top, or kitchen. Now, from this left-hand side here, there aren't many places you can go which offer a lot of cover for a sub. Now, that's why I'm saying this. You've run up to the quite an open area of the map being up here with the submachine gun, and you can see the lines of sights you're going to take from up here are going to be top cat, top roof, all the way down to P1 maybe, and they're not beneficial line of sights with the sub. Now, I get if you hadn't have spotted that player over there, you probably would have been able to run over and be a little bit annoying and sort of hold this line with a sub, which would have been really helpful. But getting to there is risky if you only have a sub. A better route for a submachine gun is to go the kitchen route. Maybe you've got bits of cover here, and here, which you can move around, you can slide cancel behind, and then once you've got control of this area, you can then progress to the time, allowing the teammates who've gone piano or maybe top cat to distract them as you do that pinch. And that's sort of what you want to try and do. What I'm trying to summarize here is wrong gun for this positioning. Okay, that's all I would say. They've double chowed you, they've got an AR, When you're in this, whenever you're taking a route and you're going to meet them halfway, especially in an opening route like here, you've got to think, have I got the right gun for this? And in that situation, you definitely did not have the right gun for that. We've continued to spawn at the better spawns. P2's here, as we all know. I'm just going to go back and forward because I don't know why this would possibly be buffering. So we try and pinch the player top cat, which I think is a really good play. That's brave considering we were really weak, but I'm not gonna worry about that too much. Okay. Let's break down this segment here. First of all, I really like that play. You've managed to help your teammate out and alleviated the initial pressure towards P2 spawns. If that player stays alive, there's potential they could kill your teammate and get into P2 and end up spawning you all the way out. I like that focus. You've left the player on time to deal with their own gunfights. What I don't like is we're at half HP at this point and we're deciding to challenge someone who probably has an AR. You don't know if they're weak or not. It's risky, and again, you just run it down from there. You've got 3 enemies down. That's the last one up. Worst case scenario, that they get away, but you want to really try and heal and make sure you can regain your full health. You've already got 15 bullets in your gun. That's what you should have done. What isn't the smart play, especially considering you've already got a teammate pushed out kitchen, you've got a teammate on time, is what you do next. So you've got 3 dead. There's 1 player missing who's not an immediate threat. You have time to reload. I get that he's weak. But by the time you get there, he's regained his health because it's been so long since you last shot them. You find yourself in a really sticky position between where the enemies are spawning and where they need to get to, i.e. P1, and you've just been caught out. You've played that a little bit too aggressively. Put the bullets in as you want, absolutely fine, but stay back, play a little bit more defensive while you regain your health, reload your guns, and set up for the next round, the next wave of enemies coming in. That's what should be done there. There's no reason. That player at the moment isn't a threat. There's no reason to go ham like you have done here, chase them down as much as you have done here, because it risks, 1, spawning them at the good spawn because nobody is, like, you're pushed quite far up at this point, but it also risks breaking the setup. Okay, worst case scenario, you lay down, your teammate dies, you stand up, you've got full health, you've got full ammo, and you can beam them across the map following that. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say on that point. And unfortunately, we've died because we've just jumped in a really focal area for the enemies to be at, with no ammo and pretty low health. Okay, so your teammate's on time. You've got a teammate in kitchen who's covering that side. The only place not covered is low here, which I'm glad to see you're picking up. Unfortunately, you are the only teammate alive. It's imperative you stay alive at this point, and you're doing just that.
Hardpoint active. Hardpoint is secure.
Good read. I was hoping we were going to pick up this left-hand side.
Hostiles have captured the hardpoint.
Like that. Only thing I would say is there's a sub on the floor. When P2 is active, you can't really be impactful in the hill above you without a sub in your hand. As soon as you notice a sub on the floor, you really want to be trying to pick that up. You may have won this gunfight if you had a sub. Maybe not. Your aim was a little bit off slightly. But I like the aggression, I like the willingness to get involved, and we've continued to spawn in. Now, when it's a mixy hill on P2, and the reason I'm saying this is because P2 is a really tight hill. It's a room it's a small hill in a small room, and for most of the gunfights, you're going to be better off having a submachine gun rather than an AR. So when the hill's mixy and you're not quite sure, you don't have control of it, and you're going to have to try and break it, always pull out a sub, and that goes for any hill that's in a building, whether it's P4 Skyline, whether it's P4 Vault, P2 Skyline. If you're trying to break a hill that you currently, or if you're trying to control a hill that you don't currently have control of, and it's in a room, you're much better off. Same as P3 on Vault, for example, on Protocol, you're better off with a sub over an AR. Now, if your team had been fully set up in this hill and you wanted to try and make some space and you want to try and cut the enemies off from getting to this objective, having an AR is great because you can cut the entire map with the gun, but I'm not sure this is the best gun for the correct position you're doing. It might pay off. You've managed to get a good read on the team there. And I like what I'm seeing here. I don't know if you meant to slide out. I'm going to say no. I'm going to assume not. just in those gunfights, you just want to try and move a little bit less. So you got a good amount of damage on already. He has to, they're behind that cover, they have to go left or right. If you just hold one or the other, you're probably in a better position. The fact that you had to readjust and whatnot is fine. But then even this was quite close, because I like this movement here, but then in this gunfight, you jump and it nearly pulls you up. There's no reason to jump. Jumping when you have an AR is, I don't know why on this game, it's awful. It makes the AR bounce, it makes your aim go completely off. You don't have to move for the sake of moving when you're mid gunfight, is what I'm trying to say. So just be careful when you're doing that going forward. I see some aggression towards the time now. You know where they're going to be. Nice use of cover. I really like what I'm seeing right here. Playing your life, reloading because you know you're safe-ish to do so. Tough. I do wonder why we've come out of cover completely. I mean, they did zap you there, to be fair. You didn't need to come out of cover. A little bit of a snake there, or just trying to play your life a little bit better behind that table would have been a little bit better off. Unfortunately, now we're in a position where you're spawning here. Challenging this is impossible when there's 4 of them alive. There's going to be so much focus on this area. When they're in P3, a lot of them are going to be looking in front, and this is just, unless you've got good enough shots to beam someone off that head glitch, and even then I'd argue it's not the right play. Following your teammates and going up and over would probably be the best thing to do here. That's the same case in any hill where you've just gone 4 down. Are you about to push the obvious push? If that answer is yes, then you're probably not going to win that gunfight, especially when they've got head glitches like this to counter you at. What you've done there is nicer, because you've taken a little bit of a different approach. You've been a little bit more of a surprise to them. You've waited for your team to come towards you, and I think that's a really, really good play. This person back here should be a focus of yours. Good gunfight. I like what I'm seeing here. Finish your kills. I don't have to point out what happened there. You definitely know what we could have probably done better. Yeah, okay. So in this position you spawned in, you have first of all, you died at the top. Probably shouldn't have. You should have not definitely, at this point, you definitely didn't need to commit to the player down low, especially when this player was so weak and you'd already put so many bullets into them. You just had to put one more bullet in Unbelieve, and then there'd have been, brown bread. I'm not sure what's going on there. Obviously, that's not the right decision to make. Now, when you've spawned in, you are aware you've got a teammate on the objective, you've got a teammate blocking the spawns back there, and then you've got a teammate kitchen who's in the mix. They're not going to last long. They're playing the cut area of the map. They're in the kitchen, probably going to die at some point. Now, what out of all of these areas does need picking up right now? The only place that does need picking up is top. And what presence does your team have? Okay, so you know bottom's relatively covered. If any enemies were going to come from bottom, you've probably seen them shot already, because you've got a teammate being that blocker bottom mid. You've got to expect people up top, because it's the only place not being currently watched. That's all that is. Got to expect it. What I would suggest is maybe wait for the next wave of enemies to come. When you have so little info on where most of the enemy team are, wait for the next wave of enemies to come, post up, sit on a heady, and then progress up the map. Okay, so unfortunately the enemy have broken from the front, giving them an extra 25 seconds here. I do think we should be challenging this a little bit with the support of your team. Nice kill. You know, it's close left. Unfortunate gunfight. Okay, we're going to P1, pretty much square. It's fairly even. You've got a trophy. I'd love to see you throw a trophy down just to support whoever's deciding to get on the objective. Okay, willingness to jump on the hill. I like that. gotta be careful playing here because you're gonna spawn the enemies in. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna break down that whole segment because it wasn't the best. So I'm gonna break it down even further here.
Hardpoint identified.
P4 is got 10 seconds left, 7 seconds left. You should most definitely not be focusing on P4 here. Your main goal when there's this little time left on the old hill is to set up for the new objective. Now, you've got time. Your teammates killed a couple of enemies. They're not, you know, there's one on P4. You've probably got time here. Throw a trophy on the objective. You've got so much time. You can't see anyone. You're checking where you should be checking. Yes, that player falls. Get that kill, but you should be throwing a trophy somewhere, whether you throw a trophy top cat, whether you throw it down below, whether you try and throw it all the way over to P1. You need to utilize your trophy when it's safe to do so when you're trying to set up for the new hill. So that's first thing number one in this series of events. What happens next, I'm also fairly okay with. But again, we're on the objective. We still haven't put the trophy down.
Point is secure.
Now, your position on the hill itself, I don't mind. You are leaving yourself a little bit open. You don't have the backing of your team and you've pushed into their side. What I would prefer to see was you to either, as soon as you've got into this position, go back to the objective and play on the hill. But what happens here, unfortunately, your team get picked off. You don't have any help. You've got this whole left-hand side of the map's open. You're sort of here trying to play your life a bit. Your teammate gets picked off. What you probably should have done is continue to be a distraction on the hill. It's a tough one. Your teammates lost gunfights that they shouldn't have at the end of the day.
Hostiles have the hard point.
But yeah, having a trophy on that hill would have saved you from that nade being thrown. You could have maintained that position for longer. And pushing into bedroom as cover is never really a good thing, especially considering you can watch the whole kitchen push from the other side. So yeah, I'd probably pull back to your side in that situation, just so you're a little bit close to your teammates, and you've got cover from top, you've got cover from the left, and you can really just lay down and just wait for your teammates to help you out.
Hardpoint locked down.
It's fine though. We've got good control of top middle.
Captured the hardpoint.
I don't like that play. So you've got good presence on the hill. Okay, you've got a teammate who's up with you. You've got a teammate who's down on the objective. There's going to be a lot of focus from the enemies in this area, and 26 seconds is a lot of time to give up. You've got control of all of catwalk. You don't necessarily see anyone top. You don't anyone see across. This is the time for you to try and get across catwalk. You can supply the cover for your teammate. You can supply the cover from anyone coming in front. You've got a teammate looking over you behind. This is the position which you should. This situation here, you should have gone right. Now it's my turn to get across them. It's my turn to try and push the new objective. What we do is go up all this map progression we've managed to obtain as a team and just go back to kitchen.
Hostiles have captured the hardpoint.
Your teammates die, they're on their own, they've just lost their ones-on-ones, but it didn't need to be one-on-ones. It could have been 2v1s, or, you know, you could have been there to support those engagements. What you've done there is give up all that map control. You've given up the opportunity to cross the catwalk just to hold a similar position without watching as much. You also haven't cleared kitchen. You don't know if it's clear, and that's resulted in you dying there, unfortunately. So what could you learn? How could I summarize that? So when you are in a position like this, where you've got a good amount of team presence on one side of the hill, match that presence. You don't have to be split across the map the entire time. The only place you don't have control of is kitchen, and you've gone there and assumed it's clear, which is obviously not the right thing to do. Match your team's aggression here. Push through with them as a unit and work as like a cohesive thing. And I know you're solo queuing here, but you could have gone catwalk. You could have looked over your teammate. And even if you're stood next to this teammate, fine, it's not a problem. But you could have gone catwalk here, been another distraction for them to worry about apart from the other player you've got on the time, get into their base, and then you can worry about kitchen when you're already on the better side. That's probably what I'd have done. So yeah, there's a few things to bear in mind there. And obviously we're going to kitchen and it doesn't end up being beneficial, although it does because we spawn at P2. Good kill, great use of movement, good shots. So your teammates just spawn back to your right, which means the pressure's coming from the left-hand side of P1. You've got a good amount of cover from your teammates there. One's come through kitchen. Unfortunately, we lost that gunfight. Let's wonder why. Again, we're using a lot of movement in an area which we don't need to. That jump mid-gunfight's probably screwed you up a bit. I like this movement out, shock them a little bit, try and camera them, but then when you're jumping, your gun's just not doing what it should be doing. Okay, we're spawning out. I'd love to see you with a sub in this position.
The lead is ours.
You're trying to defend a, don't forget, you're trying to defend a hill, which is in a room. And you can't really be, you can't be too effective on this hill unless you do have a sub. You could have got those kills just as easily with a sub. But now when it gets to the important kill, I mean, fair play, you just absolutely finessed the way out of that. Last hit person is Top Cat, your teammate kills them. Is what it is. So just for awareness wise, you could have probably played that hill a little bit differently. When you know you just got a good amount of team wipes there, that's 2 enemies down. That's 1. That's 2 now spawning in. Then 1 more spawning in. You've got to recognize how much map control your team has of this left-hand side. You've got a teammate who appears to be Top Cat. You've got a teammate who appears to be somewhere on the left, and you've just had your teammate Ben help you from low. Your main focus should either be the white door or the back door. You know you've got teammates all towards this left-hand side here. The only place you can probably dive from is to your right here. So that's probably where I would have had my focus if I was in this position. And as a result, they've spawned in, they've managed to get to the hill. Yeah, that just comes from where are your teammates coming from. The enemies are probably spawning the other way. So good kill, Top Cat. And now we're trying to play for these spawns, which I don't mind whatsoever.
Hardpoint is secure.
Teammates just spawn behind you. It tells you the enemy is not anywhere near to progression at this side of the map. I'm going to break this down quickly. So, we've got good spawns. You've pulled back. Your teammate spawns on you here, I believe. Yeah, they spawn with you in the bedroom. As P3 pops. Go and check underneath. You don't see anyone, you decide to go and help the hill. Interesting, you get this kill, and then you decide to run right when you know your teammates have got pressure towards this left-hand side here. I'm intrigued by why we've decided to do this. You've just killed 3 people. And it's at this point, you see your teammates spawning out. But that's fine. I don't think that's too much of an issue. I think you're trying to spread the defense there. I'm not going to critique that too much. Unfortunately, the enemies have spawned at the better objective, or the better spawns here, but it is what it is. Yeah, we backed up a little bit out of that cover when we didn't need to. This is a lot of time being wasted for someone on P1. So, you notice a player there. Where else can you see this from? Okay, at this point, to be fair, this is a 50-50 gunfight. They've got cover on a similar level to you. They could go on here, similar amount of cover to you. You could have made this. You could have done this so much better. You don't necessarily have to be here. There's this massive pillar, first of all. If you could get your way Top Cat and look down at them, they're trapped at that point. They can't see you. Or they might be able to see you, but you've got the whole area of where they're looking at. And that will also help your progression towards P3. You've taken way too long here to aggress this time, try and approach this enemy. They're just playing their life here. They're getting a lot of field time. They've managed to challenge you from one of the most disgusting headies in the game, being this hot tub. And unfortunately, you fall them. Going top catwalk, trying to make it so that you're looking down at them. Height advantage is a real thing in Call of Duty. If you can position yourself nicely, top railings, even if you go top catwalk, your main objective here is to stop them up capturing P3 and potentially to get the spawns. This is not your main objective. If it somehow happens to be at some point as you're trying to obtain P3 or obtain P4 spawns, then fine. But you need to be focusing on P3 and P4 spawns at this point, instead of wasting 10 seconds on this player at P1 and then eventually dying. When you're taking on a gunfight, especially when you've had so much time in this gunfight to consider whether or not it was the right thing to do, you should have said to yourself, am I in a position where I'm going to win this next gunfight? Probably not. We've got them weak. We haven't thrown a stun. We haven't thrown a nade. They're going to be sat there regaining the health, and they've got one of the best headies in this map to challenge you against, especially from the position you're at. And that's the breakdown of that. If this were me, as I say, I'd go up, challenge them from up top, throw your nade, throw your stun, just try and get across. Okay, you spawn in, there's 10 seconds left to P3. I like this. I'm not too mad about that. I'd have done the same thing and pushed through the objective, that's fine. I'd have probably watch the kill cam.
Hardpoint active.
Now, when you die, and there's this many seconds left on the hill, watch the kill cam, because you will get the spawns for the new objective rather than the old objective. Because at the point you spawn in, the new objective will be up and the old objective won't be. That's all I'm gonna. That's that's a micro thing. To be fair, that's something that even Crimsons don't do. Some iridescents don't even do it. It's just knowing when to watch your kill cam and when not to. It's not. To be fair, you probably wouldn't spawn in the back anyway, but there's no harm in doing it in any case. Okay, these are gunfights that we should be winning, especially if you want to get to Crimson. So that, first of all, very weak there, that's fine. This next set, I think, is... Yeah, there's a lot of walking forward while we're doing it. Just take your time a little bit. I think we need to position ourselves a little bit behind the cover, get behind here, have a real stationary approach, but shots could be better. I don't know whether we warm up as much as we should be doing before these games, or we're getting a little bit complacent, but these should have been kills, and these should have that first person should have been a relatively easy kill. They weren't too far away. They didn't have any cover. So yeah, I'm hoping you're shooting bots before you jump on. If not, you should definitely be doing so. Again, we're walking forward as we're shooting. I don't think that's the best thing to be doing. When you're in a gunfight, I haven't noticed as much on anyone else, but when you're in a gunfight, stand still and wiggle left to right. Strafe one way, strafe the other, but don't walk forward, because it leaves... You don't get much of an aim assist benefit if you're just walking in a straight line towards them. You don't negate any recoil using a rotational aim assist. You don't have any of that benefit. Challenging this heady is doable, and you can win gunfights here. I've done it many a time. You've just got to stand up, stand still, but move left and right as you're shooting, and it will make your aim so much better. Moving forward and shooting like that, I think, was the reason you lost your first gunfight in that exact same position. Okay, your teammates have got good progress from the front. I don't necessarily mind this push. We need to win it this time, though, otherwise it is useless. Nice. We spawned in. Hallelujah. With 5 seconds left. That's fine. We're going into this so far, there's not been too many mistakes that have completely costed your team. I like what you're doing here, though. You're being annoying. You're making sure you can't get pinched. Another great kill. You're progressing through towards P2 spawns. Trust yourself. You doubted yourself here. This was a really good read. Maybe you just didn't see them. I'm not sure. The only time I've seen you use a trophy when they've got a Hellstorm coming in, and okay, you really want to hold your life here, because you want your teammates to try and spawn in with you, and they have, which is good. Let's see some trades here. Alright, it's your job to try and stay alive. That is your only job right now, is trying to stay alive. Trust your team to get the old objective, and just make sure your team is spawning on you and the enemy team is spawning all the way out. That's all your job is right now, and you're doing a good job of it. This is almost perfect. You just need to see a couple of trades here. Once your teammates falling from the hill. Good kill. Let's see how you progress next. So I'm going to break this down slightly. Okay, we notice the enemy in the back. Give a jazz. I don't think jumping off there is ever a good thing. Try and stop doing that if you can. Yeah, and that's... Yeah, okay, fine. Okay, I like your ambition to get into the hill, get stuck in. You still got the good spawns, you still have the ammos out, however. We've just seen how good you were with the jackal at there. Yeah, this is tricky now. Relax, you don't need to be on the hill. Okay. So I'm going to pull it back to here. Nice. I appreciate you not getting on the objective there, just stacking with your team. I think it's at this point, we need to be looking at where the teammates are covering. Now, you're not using, if you are solo queuing, you need to be using your tac map a lot, just to know exactly where your teammates are. So you can do that by pressing the scoreboard and then R1, and that will show you exactly where your teammates are. I think every one of your teammates, based on where we've just seen them here, just double check. Yeah, every single one of your teammates is upstairs, so they don't have the left bottom covered. And I think you've assumed they've got that left-hand side covered, and you just can't do that. You've got to assume, if you're solo queuing, it is always safer just to assume your teammates aren't great. If they are great, fine, brilliant. You've got to assume they have nothing for you, and I think that's what's happened here. They don't really have much control of this left-hand side. You're watching right, which I absolutely love, but you're only watching right. You could be jiggling left a little bit, you could be jiggling right a little bit, and it's enabled them to break in. That's my only thing, but I like what you're doing. Otherwise, I think you've allocated yourself to a lane, and you're there to own that lane. I don't mind that. This is the only other thing I would say. You have absolutely no team support at this very point right now. You are very weak, and you have just killed two enemies. The other two enemies are going to be hunting for you. The worst thing you can do in this position is get on the hill. You either play your life, come back out white, play your life under here. Because what you're doing, when you're alive and these two enemies you've just killed spawn in, they're going to spawn the other side of the map because you're playing your life here. The fact that you've gone and instantly died up P2 essentially makes these two kills almost useless, because they're going to spawn right at the back of the hill, because you've died so quickly. Because you've died, you're no longer blocking the spawn. They're then going to spawn back P2. They're then just going to jump straight on the objective. Playing your life there would have been far more beneficial than trying to get 1 second of hill time. You're going to be traded. You're in a real fast-paced environment, and it's those decision makings that will those decisions that will make the difference between getting to that crim level. This is tough at this point. Yes, I think this is. I'm surprised we don't lose it here. I know we finish on P4 by the looks of it. I know it's because there isn't even enough bloody time. Good kill. Just be a distraction while your teammates pinch. You can see where they are on the minimap. Be a distraction. Allow your teammates to get onto the objective. Now you provide the support from this side. Good kill. Good kill. This is perfect. This is exactly what I'd love to see. See, I don't love this. I'll tell you why I don't love this. You've got already someone watching middle. You've got someone watching the pinch, which is fine. You're in a position where you have an AR, and the only way an AR is going to benefit you in this position right here is if they go P1 or they go through middle. If an enemy, because this, especially considering they're literally going to be spawning just here, a lot of their traffic is just going to be coming from the front. Okay, you know where they're spawning, and they're going to be coming from your front. The gunfights you're going to have from this position are going to be either here on the minimap or behind you on the minimap. They're going to be really, really close range gunfights, and you're not going to have the mobility, you're not going to have the faster time to kill with an AR in your hand. You would be far better off sitting at the table and looking forward, sitting at this island and looking forward and trusting your teammate to get your middle. That would be a better play to do than this. I imagine, I don't know, I haven't watched it, I imagine you get probably slid out and then an SMG beams you from here. Maybe not. It's all about cover and taking on line of sights that are better for you as an AR. Yeah, this is just not the best. We've allowed them just to get up too close. I think that might just be a spawn reading thing. And I think that's where the game finishes. Okay, let's run this back. So some good things. Your movement's good. You have the physical ability to move well. You have the physical ability to shoot well, and your willingness to just jump on the objective and do the dirty work is massive. Now, there's a massive bugbear when I watch people who want to be Crimson or want to be Iridescent and they're currently in Diamond. You need to be able to use your utility, your trophies, your stuns, and your nades effectively. There are so many situations here where someone was holding not necessarily just the hill, but they're sometimes on a position you want to obtain and you're not throwing a nade. There are so many gunfights that would have been easier if you'd have just thrown your stun or thrown your nade, rather than just trying to work on just use your gunny. Now, when it comes to positioning, every time you are aiming down sight, you need to think, if someone challenges me where I am aiming, where I expect a gunfight to happen, am I in the position to win this gunfight? Do I have the best gun to win this gunfight? And if those answers are no, you either need to decide to use a different gun or change position. So the answer is yes. You need to, every gunfight you take on, you should be in a better position than where you're aiming or where you're predicting the enemy to be. That's the only reason why there are better spawns than the worst spawns, is because you can set up and be on a better heady than the enemies are going to be on. So yeah, the best way to learn this, obviously I could just say when you're in the game, think about it, but it's a bit of a long process. The best way to think about this is watch somebody who plays a similar role to you or similar role that you want to play, and see how they maneuver across the map. What head glitches they take, and when they're defending an objective like P3, where do they sit? What angles do they watch using what gun? And that's the best way to do it, and really just try and mimic what they do. No, I don't necessarily mean watch pro level gameplay because they're going to be playing against CDL players, but you know, watch other streamers who do use the IR and things like that. That's probably the best way to do it. But the logic is, if you're taking on a gunfight and you're pre-aiming somewhere, are you going to win that gunfight if someone challenges you from that area? If the answer is yes, then great, stick it out and win the gunfight. And that's another big thing. That's the second biggest thing I noticed in today's gameplay. Your decision here, by the way, decision making sometimes is really brilliant. I guess this goes into my next thing, is that using the right gun for the right environments. There were so many times where you had the AR out when you probably would have been better off with the sub. But again, that just links into the thing I just mentioned, so I'm not going to go over that again. And the other thing is your shots could have been a little bit better sometimes. So just make sure you are warming up. Make sure you are shooting 100 bots or so, depending on how frequently you play. Make sure you are doing that sort of work when you are before you jump onto the game. And the next thing is going to be a specific solo queue thing, and it's trust your enemies have nothing. Trust your teammates have got nothing for you. Okay, don't rely on them. Do what you need to do in the moment you need to do it, and just, you know, you can't rely on your teammates a lot of the time when you're solo queuing, so you shouldn't rely on them. Okay, use your tac map to get information that you can't see. The minimap's really small. You can only, I mean, your teammates are spawned quite closely, but you can't see them because the minimap is so small and only covers such a small amount of area. Use the tac map, get used to pulling it up really quickly, having a quick look and then putting it away. And it's going to benefit you massively as a solo queue. It's so much information you can gather from that tac map that you're not getting from the minimap on the top left currently. I think I've said 4 things now. I only said I'd say 2 or 3. I don't think there's anything else I want to cover that you're going to be able to take away and remember. So I'm just going to do a real quick summary. Stuns, nades, and trophies, you need to use your utility. When you're in a gunfight, make sure you're in a position that you're likely to win that gunfight. And if you feel like you're in an unfavorable position, get out of that position and try and get away. Other than that, I think your decision making was pretty good. And then finally, make sure you're shooting bots and make sure you're shooting as straight as you possibly can be. Take those things away, hopefully work on a couple of things I mentioned. And as I say, the best way and the quickest way to learn and improve is to watch people better than you and try and copy the routes, try and copy the mannerisms they do, to apply to your own gameplay. So yeah, that'll do for me. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something more than anything, and I will see you in the next one. Ciao for now.